Hey, what's going on, fellow trade geniuses? This is Philip, and I want to take a look at the week ahead. Let's run through our Nadex Forex pairs real quick. Here's our dollar index. We'll look at the dollar and the yen index first. As you can see, dollar's been taking a dive, and as with most things Forex this year, it seems like we've had a lot of extended moves, and the forex this year has been different than last year. It seems like we're getting really long moves, and then maybe sideways move after that. So it's not as fluid as it was last year. You get a move up and down. This year it seems like you get a move and then sideways on a lot of setups. So anyway, just wanted to kind of point that out. So what I have up here, over here in the upper left, is kind of our traditional channel, which, as you can see, this overshot. Over here, we've got a wider channel that has kind of been taking into account some of the more trendy type moves that we've been seeing. As you can see, we're kind of putting a base in here. This is a 2-hour chart, which a little bit longer term channel, and as you can see there, nothing too overextended on that time frame. Over here we have our 4-hour chart. Primarily this is just to kind of see kind of where our major support and resistance levels are from previous price moves. Right now we'd be looking at this level here on dollar, which would be around 101.15. Would be an area looking for the next level of support on that. Okay, on the yen, looking at yen had a pretty decent move up. Um, Not really seeing anything too overextended here starting out the week. So we'll keep a tabs on that for our yen pairs. Aussie yen, nice bounce off of our modified channel and taking a breather there. So we'll see if we can get any more extended moves. Another thing that we're going to be implementing this week, guys, is when we start getting these mid-channel moves up, we're going to be implementing a signal to catch these pullbacks and then higher up. So we'll be calling those out this week in the room and on the signal. Okay. Look at the Aussie dollar. Again, we're kind of lower end of the longer term channel there. So I'd probably suspect that this trend line here we're going to keep an eye on. Okay, so this is roughly that. Okay, so we see a break in that. We also seem to be possibly if we can break that and then come back and test it, we'll put in an inverted head and shoulders down here. Interestingly, Aussie dollar pretty correlated to gold. If you look at those two charts, you'll see that move is pretty similar. And I think on the topic of that, I think gold, if we can see gold move higher, I think the bottom possibly could be in. I know we were looking for north of 1240, I think, in the last week, and it never really made that move. So we'll see what happens this week as far as putting in a bottom on that. Anyway, let's move on to the euro pound. Euro's been on a tear, and what happened? What happened was ECB hinted that they would be tightening or raising rates, and so I mean, look at that, just kaboom. When they when the ECB they held last week, which was pretty much expected. But then in the language following that, they were hinting at not only tightening, but they were talking about, or I'm sorry, not only ending QE. I mean, they just skipped ahead of that. Usually it's end QE and then look at tightening. I mean, there was language about tightening, and they haven't even ended QE. So I suspect the euro to continue to trend up. So probably the play on anything euro related is going to be, buying pullbacks in the overall trend would be more appetizing as opposed to fading some of these channel overextensions. So that's kind of my viewpoint on things euro related. You can see on this 2 hour time frame, probably going to see a pause here. This channel is going to affect more of the you might have a 1 to 2 day turnaround, and then a pullback and then higher. Okay, on these bigger channels or higher time frame channels. As you can see, we're running into some resistance. So the next point of resistance is going to be this 123.33 area. So we'll be looking at that. Until then, I think being a buyer of dips on these euro pairs is going to play out pretty well. Let's look at the euro USD. So late Friday, this thing got really exuberant again. Going back to the ECB language, European Central Bank, talking about tightening, and following, essentially following the Fed's footsteps. And so again, you know, lots of upward pressure on the euro and euro-related crosses. As you can see, this was our this is more of our traditional channel. It's above that, pushing against the modified channel for these more extended trend moves, and then even our higher time frame, we're getting up there. So uh, we should see a little bit of pause, but what we might see also is some consolidation. You could almost make a case for a pennant starting to form here. So as has been the case, it seems like that's probably what's setting up, is we're going to consolidate a little bit and then push higher. That's kind of been the MO for these pairs and these moves. All right, pound yen. The pound has been kind of just kind of going sideways for the most part. And as you can see with this cross, we haven't really gone anywhere since January. A little up and down, but I mean we're really going sideways here on this. So as such, we don't really see anything too terribly overextended here on these channels. So we'll wait to see how that plays out during the week. Pound dollar. We got the very larger time frame. Actually, interestingly enough, we're getting toward the bottom of that channel. That will be, when we start seeing this get extended down, that's when we maybe look at a weekly swing or a weekly contract on Nadex. So keep an eye on that. Otherwise, nothing at the moment, nothing actionable that we would take tonight. Maybe into tomorrow we might see something. Dollar CAD. Okay, so this is going to be really related to the oil move. Now, oil, obviously oil has really tanked in the last week. As such, we've gotten a pretty big move up in CAD getting crushed. So USD CAD's going to rise against that, right? So unless oil decides to take a break, we're going to see some continued upward pressure in the USD CAD pairs. So as you can see, we had a nice trend up, and then Friday had some news that affected CAD related, and then sideways. So I think this continues to move up as oil moves down. That's going to be the relationship there. Dollar and the Swissy, kind of the upward channel that we've got here. Nothing too terribly overextended on the 2 hour, but we do have some bottom fishing here on our more traditional channel size, and then on our more extended channel, we've got kind of came off that bottom nicely. You see that tagged that and came up, and so we'll see what happens and plays out there. What may happen is more consolidation and then down, but we'll see. So let's see, our last pair is going to be dollar yen. Okay, yen's a little interesting because it's kind of been, yen's getting we'll see these jams on UJ, and then we also see that kind of plays into the carry trade. So it's kind of like the script's been devalue the yen, and kind of keeps the SPY afloat, right? The S&P 500. That's kind of called the yen fix. What could play out is the Bank of Japan, and this is kind of like, this would probably be out of left field, but they could follow suit with the Fed and the ECB. They might hint at, if they hinted at raising rates or reversing the negative interest rate policy, the NERP policy that they've had, this USD, this UJ is going to get crushed. All right, this is gonna turn down hard. So that's something to keep an eye on. They haven't said anything, but that's, if that language comes out, you're gonna have a huge move down in the UJ. And I just bring it up because you're starting to see, now the ECB going that direction. And don't be surprised if, even though it's not expected, don't be surprised if the Central Bank of Japan, um, you know, follows suit. So that's pretty much it for the forex outlook. Gonna kind of talk about trending moves. If we look at the Euro USD, for example, okay, so we're gonna talk about how, when we get into these situations where it moves up and trending, um, we're going to be catching and following that trend up. We typically like to fade when we get overextended on these channel moves, but there's also a lot of opportunity when we're mid-channel and we're starting into a trend. Like that was a nice trend up here last 2 days, getting in on those. So we'll show some signals that would fire. Show some signals that fired last week, for example, and that you can see how these new signals that we'll call out for kind of following the trend um, are pretty darn good. So let's look at that. Okay, so I wanted to point out kind of a new signal that we'll be implementing this week on the binaries, and so I wanted to show you on a few pairs where I like this signal to fire on. Not all the pairs, but just some of them works really well on. So this is the odd USD. As you can see, it would signal fired on this bar. Essentially, it's a level that is being identified, so it gets touched, and then there's two options. We could play this hour. These are hourly bars, or we could play for a longer swing. It really depends on where we are as far as markets being open or markets closing, news events, where the available strikes are, things of that nature. So that'll be what we'll signal out in maybe as little as less than an hour, because we're looking for a level to hold for that hour, like we do on the probability trades, or more of a multi-hour fade. Also here you can see on this hour it fired and bounced nicely from there. Let's take a look at another pair, euro pound. And again, this is a trending signal, so what we're doing is we're looking for pullbacks to fire. And so we see this bar here. This hour signaled an entry. So did this hour, and so did this hour. I'm filtering out any news events or things of that nature. So these would be entries that were valid to take. Okay. Again, we want a trend to start when we take these. So we're kind of relatively flat, and then we start seeing a move up. It's cleared these resistance levels. Now we've got a start of a trend. So, and then that continues. Let's look at EJ. Here, so we've got this trend starting up, and again, since it's another euro pair, you're going to see kind of a pattern here, but it is a different cross, so we get different signals. But you'll see a signal here, signal here, and took a little while, but did end up going up, and then things start to get a little flat. So probably wait for another move in any direction to reinvigorate trend type move. Euro USD. This goes back to Thursday. We had the ECB announced on Wednesday. There was language that, again, covering that language of tightening. And that kind of started this move, and I think there's a lot more to the upside. But in any case, entry here, you can see that moved up from there. Entry here, nice move up, and an entry off of actually would have been not really this candle, but this level here, which was touched and then moved up. So it's not as so much a candle formation as it is really a level, a pullback level. So that was the Euro USD. I'm just showing you some examples. We can look even at the pound yen cross GJ. So we got a nice thrust up, start a move, get there. Again, this is a situation where we could take it an hour and be done with it. It really depends on when the signal is being or the criteria is being met, and available strikes and so on and so forth. So here bounced nicely, came back down, fired again here, came up, pulled back. We got an entry here. So that's so we're just looking at recent entries in the last few days on these. One more. Let's look at USD JPY. As you can see, a nice signal there, nice signal there. Okay, so and you notice too, these moves are mid-channel. So you know there's things to be done mid-channel. Now this is just complementing to our arsenal. This doesn't affect our probability plays or overnight swings or anything like that. This is just another tool that will be added to the signal, the menu of signals that we have. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there and show you guys some examples of that signal. It doesn't apply to all pairs. I like it on a few of them though. I think it works really well. Okay, so let's look at the week ahead. And it's a crazy week. We got a lot of stuff going on, so let's take a look at that. All right, let's take a look at the week ahead. Don't forget, we got daylight savings time shift. Move your clocks forward. That means everybody goes an hour away from me out here in Hawaii. So the market's open at 3:30 in the morning, if you can believe that for me. But that's, I guess, the price you pay for living in paradise. Euro tomorrow, we got some news in the morning. Draghi speaks again. I think Euro is going to be bullish on the continued talk of tightening with the ECB. We have some Chinese news at 10. Tuesday, kind of looking at the pre-market PPI report. Not expecting anything earth-shattering there. Wednesday's nuts though. I don't think I've ever seen that many high-impact reports in one day. So, bunch of pound-related news, bunch of the weekly U.S. news. Crude oil, that'll be really interesting because crude is under tremendous pressure right now. FOMC data, Fed rate announcement. Look, everyone's saying, "Oh, all eyes on Fed this week." Everyone, it's pretty much baked in. They're raising it. They're raising it again. An interesting scenario would be if oil dumped, and I mean like tanked down to like 40, low 40s. I mean, we're talking like straight waterfall. That could actually be a catalyst for them to switch gears really fast and maybe hold. But I mean, I think that's kind of an outlier. I don't think the probabilities of that are low. But oil is very important to the global economy. So I'm just throwing that out there. Something to keep an eye on. Then we've got Australian rates, or actually employment rate. Bank of Japan policy rate. Now, I mentioned earlier about don't be surprised if they start hinting at tightening. Interesting article had come out on Zero Hedge, and they talked about how Japan is missing their mark. They're about 18% below their projections on their bond purchases. So that's kind of a way of tapering, like a stealth tapering. So I think the signs are there, and I think that's going to be very bearish for the USD JPY. But again, from Wednesday to Thursday, there's a lot of you know Bank of Japan news, and then more pound related news with their rate announcement. And then we have more U.S. data coming out. So trading Wednesday probably is just not going to be, I think you're going to have some spastic moves in the cards. So probably a good day to stay light on trades, just because of the knee-jerk reactions that can happen. Um, Friday we've got some Canadian news, and then consumer sentiment for U.S. So again, middle of this week, crazy, crazy, crazy. Um, Probably tread lightly on that day into Thursday. So that's about it. That's the way our week's shaping up. So we got the UJ trade for tonight. We'll be looking at our overnight setups on our trending our trend channels. We will look at our new trend trade signals, and we'll be also keeping an eye out for any high probability setups. But going into Wednesday, Wednesday might just be a very light day or no trade signals at all. Heading into that, um, just absolute nest of high impact news. All right, guys, look forward to the week ahead. I think we got some good opportunities setting up, and wish you all good trading. Take care.